A lot of news about the Republican Party these days, and of course, Wyoming. All eyes are on Liz Cheney and what's going to happen with her leadership post. But listen, there's a guy who's about to join us who would like to make sure that she's out of a job altogether. State Representative Chuck Gray, who has been emerging as a real strong challenger to Liz Cheney for her seat in Wyoming. Representative Gray, it's great having you on the Mike Gallagher Show. How are you?
Thanks for having me on. I'm great. How are you doing?
Well, I'm great. I mean, I know that you are pretty energized over some great news you've been getting. I've been reading a lot about your challenge to Liz Cheney. The American Conservative Union Foundation and the host of CPAC released its 50th edition of its annual ratings of Congress. You're rated as the most conservative of the three candidates for Wyoming's at-large congressional seat. First of all, let's get your reaction for starters as to Liz Cheney's agenda with her continual Trump bashing and it seems her relentless attacks on President Trump. What's her end game, Chuck? What do you think her goal is here?
Well, Mike, Liz Cheney doesn't represent us. The impeachment vote was an enormous betrayal, disgusting, unconscionable, and the continued Trump bashing, disgusting, unconscionable, and really it is about, for Liz, I think, a stepping stone. She wants to run for president in 2024. She's wanted to use Wyoming since she started in Wyoming politics. She moved here in 2014, immediately tried to run for Senate, then withdrew because Wyomingites rejected her and waited for an open congressional position. And in 2017, that happened and got through in a four-way race in a very divided field. But she doesn't represent us, Mike. She doesn't live here, and she doesn't represent Wyoming values, and she views this office as a stepping stone for her. And she was the first one in line, and we see this time and time again at Nancy Pelosi's house, to just eat up her narrative with the $24,000 refrigerator with the gourmet ice cream. And Liz is the first one in line at their get-togethers to eat up the left-wing narrative. And it's really unconscionable and inconsistent with our Wyoming values. So I encourage people to visit chuckforwyoming.com and learn more. Thank you.
To your point about Nancy Pelosi, my goodness, she was praised. Now, she called her Lynn Cheney. I'm sure she got Lynn and Liz mixed up, but nonetheless, she's giving high praise to Liz Cheney and just hope she survives everything. And we praise her for what? What? I mean, if you're a Republican and you're getting praised by the Speaker of the House who loathes Republicans the way she does, you might have a problem on your hands, Representative.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we see is that there is collusion between the insiders and the radical left. And that's what Liz Cheney is a part of, the insider class. I've seen this in the state legislature. We see it at the federal level that there's basically they're working together. And so Liz and Nancy Pelosi are almost indistinguishable in terms of their agenda and what they're doing in terms of criticizing the president. And she was the first one in line for the impeachment narrative, and it was really, really revealing.
Well, it is revealing. It's also revealing to see this sort of Republican. I call a lot of them the Judge Smales types from Caddyshack. These were country club Republicans who think that we're going to go back to the way things were prior to Trump. I thought Laura Ingraham had a terrific monologue this week, and I want to share a little bit of what Laura said about what we should expect from Republicans, and dare I say, a Republican like you, Chuck Gray. Listen to what Laura said.
The dinosaurs didn't know when their extinction was at hand, and neither do these people. But it's high time that House leadership right its ship and scrape off the barnacle of the Bush-Cheney era and do it once and for all. Here's a novel concept. Actually appoint someone to leadership who likes Republican voters.
Chuck Gray, I think you'd second that, and you'd say not only appoint people to leadership, but elect people into office who are Republicans who like Republican voters.
Well, we need Freedom Caucus Republicans in the Congress. I will be joining the Freedom Caucus as a member of Congress, not the sort of insider candidates that we've seen for decade after decade leading the party at the congressional level. And that's what we need in the Congress.
Well, and of course, you know what country club Republicans say about the Freedom Caucus, about the Jim Jordans, about Republicans like Ron DeSantis, and I dare say people like Chuck Gray. I mean, John Boehner is on this book tour right now, and he's got, I guess, he gives two craps. I mean, he's just throwing everybody under the bus and attacking you guys as a bunch of nuts and a bunch of kooks and a bunch of whack jobs. And of course, I don't even know that John Boehner himself realizes when he denigrates the Freedom Caucus or when he denigrates the Ted Cruzes, when he denigrates Republicans like you, he's denigrating millions and millions and millions of Americans, at least 75 million of us.
Well, and he's also hurting our cause. I mean, you look at what the radical left wants to do just in Wyoming. I mean, let's go through each industry they want to shut down. The coal industry, they don't want to provide our coal industry access to markets via the west coast of the United States. They want to shut down our domestic coal-fired power plants. Oil and gas, the moratorium that Biden put in place. Over 50% of our oil production is on federal lands and over 80% of our gas production. We want to shut down oil and gas. Ag, just south of us in Colorado, they have an initiative on the ballot, and you know that they test all their narratives in the blue states and then they try to federalize it. They have an initiative on the ballot to ban routine ranching practices, basically put ranchers out of business if this initiative passes. So every single one of our core industries, they want to shut down. And you look at COVID, they use that to create dependence, to shut down our economy. They see the opportunity right away to change our country and turn it into a socialist, communist country. That's their goal. And when the insiders go against the Freedom Caucus, conservatives like myself that are trying to stop that, they're with the left. That's who they're with. And we need to call it for what it is. So Liz Cheney, Boehner, all these insiders that are not standing with our conservative values and are mocking us behind our backs when they need us, but then as soon as they don't need us anymore, they're happy to cut ship, just like Liz was. That's what's wrong with the Congress right now, and that's why we need a true conservative like myself representing the state of Wyoming and representing our values.